The US is facing a crisis, and it will affect every corner of our daily life. In just the first 3 months of 2025, over $29 billion vanished from the US tourism economy. Tourist foot traffic in cities like Orlando, Las Vegas, and New York dropped by as much as 38%. That leads to thousands of fast food chains that we used to count on are now boarded up and forgotten. The places that fed a nation on the move are collapsing, one by one. Could it be the beginning of a food collapse? Chains like McDonald's, Subway, Dunkin are shutting down locations. Because with fewer travelers, there's less income. With less income, stores close. And when those stores vanish, so do the jobs of millions of people. Many Americans don't realize it yet, but they're losing the last affordable places they could count on when even fast food becomes too rare, too expensive, or too far away. What real choices remain? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today, we will reveal 10 big fast food chains will collapse due to the collapse of US tourism in 2025. Number 1. Wendys. In just 90 days, more than 120 Wendys restaurants have shut their doors, just because tourists have simply stopped coming. There was a time when Wendys marked the end of every American road trip. You'd see it glowing red in every tourist attraction. Tour buses pulled up, minivans rolled in, and families piled out after hours of driving. Didn't need to be fancy. Just a square burger, hot fries, and a Frosty were enough. By the late 2000s, Wendys operated over 6,000 locations worldwide. But as of March 2025, Wendys has reported over 16% decline in foot traffic in airport and tourist corridor locations. Business Insider confirmed the closure of more than 120 stores in just one quarter. Planned openings in Hawaii and coastal South Carolina have been shelved due to what executives described as unreliable tourism demand. This collapse isn't random. American tourism itself is unraveling from the inside. The U.S. Travel Association reports over $29 billion in lost travel spending during the first quarter of this year alone. But the more revealing truth lies not in numbers, but in the silence of shuttered hotels and abandoned food courts. Domestic travel has slowed to a crawl. Rising fuel prices averaging over $4 per gallon are squeezing road trip budgets. Inflation is forcing families to skip vacation entirely, and after months of viral headlines, airport brawls, bus station closures, looting in tourist zones, many Americans are asking themselves if it's worth going anywhere at all. Meanwhile, international travelers have quietly turned away. Tourists from Canada, Japan, and South Korea have dropped off by more than 40%, citing safety concerns, hostile immigration policies, and a general sense of unease. Wendys locations that once thrived off cross-border day trippers are now empty by noon. The effects are staggering. In many locations, Wendys isn't just a place to eat, it's one of the only places left to eat. Its combo meal, averaging just over $7, was one of the last dependable options for seniors, workers, and families who can't afford upscale dining. When that disappears, people lose convenience, affordability, and a piece of their routine. For people needing a low-cost meal on the go, it's one more door closing on daily life, and the pain ripples outward. Store closures mean lost hours, laid-off employees, and dwindling paychecks in towns that were already struggling. The small suppliers, like potato growers, beef producers, suddenly find contracts canceled, delivery services cut routes. In some counties, food deserts grow wider, with fewer chains able to serve long distances. Competitors like KFC have pivoted with mobile kitchens and partnerships in university zones, shifting away from tourist-heavy areas. Wendys, slower to adapt, remains tied to locations built for movement that's simply not happening anymore. And if America's roads remain quiet this summer and those familiar red signs keep going dark, what's really being lost is more than fast food, but the flavor of summer's gone by and the last warm bite before home. But if Wendys falls in silence, what happens next to the chicken chain that built its empire on tourists flocking to Florida? Number 2, McDonald's. Have you noticed that the most iconic restaurant in America is becoming fewer in sight now? It used to be the one place everyone could count on, whether after a swim at the beach or beneath the bright chaos of Times Square. McDonald's was more than just food. For decades, its existence has been a familiar landmark on the American map. the golden arches signaling a moment to rest, refuel, and reconnect. From early morning Egg McMuffins at the airport to late night fries, it stitched itself into the rhythm of travel. But by early 2025, that rhythm began breaking. According to data from the National Restaurant Association, foot traffic at McDonald's locations near airports, theme parks, and major interstates has fallen by over 18% year over year. In the past year alone, more than 500 locations across the US have shut down, and the hardest hits have landed squarely in tourist magnets like Honolulu, Orlando, and New York City. And new. Because Americans have stopped moving, the U.S. Travel Association reported a 12.4% drop in domestic leisure travel in the first quarter of 2025, the steepest decline since the lockdowns of 2020. And when people do travel, they're skipping the cities they once loved. A March Gallup survey revealed that 1 in 3 Americans are actively avoiding major metro areas like San Francisco or Chicago due to rising crime concerns, visible homelessness, and declining cleanliness. International travelers aren't returning either. Canadian visitation alone plummeted by 41% after a wave of policy disputes and travel restrictions in 2024 for McDonald's franchises in cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and Buffalo that once depended on those visitors. This slow disappearance is devastating. Meanwhile, the cost of a basic combo meal in many urban centers now exceeds $10. For middle-class families trying to feed 5 people on the road, even McDonald's begins to feel out of reach. That sense of affordability, the very thing that made McDonald's feel like home away from home, is slipping. The collapse ripples outward. Regional supply chains break down, local bakeries that provided buns, dairy farms that supplied milk to a cluster of franchises, logistics jobs tied to specific delivery routes. The workers inside, many making under $15 an hour, now face shorter hours, layoffs, or abrupt closure notices without warning. If tourism doesn't revive by the end of the year, McDonald's may close up to 600 more U.S. locations, especially in suburban highway zones. The places where you once pulled over without thinking are fading fast, for millions. The golden arches were a compass, a signal that wherever you were still on the map. But now, when even McDonald's disappears from the exit signs, what does that say about where America is headed? And if this can happen to McDonald's, what hope is there for the chains that never had arches to lean on? Number 3, Subway. Following McDonald's, the last healthy fast food choice also starts disappearing from America's tourist stops. We're talking about Subway. At its peak, it had more than 27,000 US locations, more than any other chain in the country. Families on vacation knew exactly what to expect: a quick, made-to-order sandwich you could grab at the airport, eat while walking through Times Square, or pack for the trail at Yellowstone. It was the dependable stop between destinations, the go-to for travelers who didn't want to spend a fortune or eat deep-fried food every day. But as of early 2025, over 3,000 Subways have disappeared from the map. QSR magazine notes that the most aggressive round of closures hit tourist zones the hardest. In Niagara Falls, Orlando, and Sedona, foot traffic fell by more than 30%. A leaked memo from Subway corporate in late 2024 revealed that chronic underperformance in airports and vacation corridors had forced mass shutdowns and franchisee buyouts. What's behind the collapse? Americans are driving less, with gas averaging more than $4 per gallon in spring 2025. Long-haul road trips are becoming financially impossible for working families. Interstates, gas stations, and highway rest stops, once Subway strongholds, are seeing less movement, fewer meals. Meanwhile, urban tourism has eroded. Cities like San Francisco and Chicago are no longer perceived as safe or affordable by many would-be travelers. With foot traffic down, subways are emptying out. Business travel hasn't recovered either. Convention bookings remain 38% below pre-pandemic levels, cutting into downtown sales from once reliable corporate lunch buyers. Tourists from Korea, Japan, and Germany also increasingly cite safety fears, unaffordable healthcare, and visa complications as reasons they're skipping the US entirely for a brand built into airport terminals and train hubs. That loss cuts deep, and the human fallout is more than sandwiches. Subway's disappearance removes one of the only fast food options that gave people control. Whole grain, veggies, protein without the grease. For travelers or low-income families passing through highways, it was a rare mix of freshness and affordability. Now, they're left choosing between sugary convenience store snacks or expensive diners. The average price of a footlong has climbed to over $9, while wages remain stagnant. Worse, the job losses are staggering. Industry estimates suggest more than 22,000 hourly positions have vanished in the past 2 years alone. When Subway pulls out, entire towns lose not just a paycheck, but the daily routine that anchored them. The brand's leadership has already hinted at retreat. If foot traffic doesn't recover by the third quarter of this year, they may permanently leave states like West Virginia, New Mexico, and Maine. Airports are replacing Subway counters with vending machines, stripping away the human interaction that once made a sandwich feel like a good choice. And so the most ordinary thing is becoming harder to find, when even the last customizable lunch is gone. What's left for those of us still trying to choose better on the road? Number 4, Burger King. There was a time when Burger King was as much a part of the vacation as the destination itself. Just off the exit ramp, beside a motel or theme park entrance, the smoky aroma of a Whopper meant a moment of comfort, cheap, hot, and familiar. Kids fought over paper crowns. Parents shared fries in the parking lot. From Miami to the Mojave, Burger King was a stop between memories. But those stops are vanishing. As of mid-2025, Burger King has closed more than 500 locations across the United States, with its parent company citing declining sales in high tourism corridors as the leading cause. According to CNN Business, Florida, Arizona, and Nevada have seen the deepest cuts. In Las Vegas alone, 4 Burger Kings shut down in just the first quarter of this year. Places that once thrived on crowds are now ghosted by both travelers and revenue, and the reasons they echo across a nation losing its taste for the road. International tourists are staying away. Some blame stricter border policies, others mention rising airfare, weak currency exchanges, or simply the feeling that America isn't as welcoming as it used to be. Meanwhile, domestic tourism has crumbled under economic pressure. A Statista report from April confirmed that 45% of Americans are skipping vacations entirely this year. For budget travelers who once relied on BK, the cost of fuel and fast food has outpaced income, and unlike competitors like KFC, which invested in digital kiosks and sleek mobile apps, Burger King has stuck in the past, unable to entice Gen Z or impatient tourists. The fallout is heavy. The $6 Whopper combo, once a dependable fallback, is now either unavailable or priced out of reach, and the workers, dozens per location, many of them part-timers, seniors, or recent immigrants, have lost what little job security they had. For small franchise owners, the closures are more than business losses. Many of these locations were opened by families chasing stability, investing savings into the idea that fast food was a safe bet. Now, they're left with debt and empty storefronts. Wells Fargo analysts predict up to 800 more Burger King locations could close by the end of 2026. And if the king is retreating from the kingdom of the American road trip, what flavor are we left with? Maybe it's not just about losing food. Maybe we're watching the slow fade of a freer, simpler America. Number 5, Dunkin. For generations, Dunkin was the first light of the day for millions on the road. You didn't just grab coffee, you walked into something familiar. The pink and orange glow, the smell of warm dough, the voice at the counter remembering your regular order. It felt like someone was rooting for your day to go well. But now, those warm starts are going cold. Restaurant Business Online confirmed that over 450 Dunkin' stores have closed since 2023. Among them are landmark locations at Boston Logan Airport and Times Square, places once swarmed by both tourists and locals. A leaked internal report from Inspire Brands at the end of 2024 revealed a 23% plunge in foot traffic at highway and commuter corridors. Tourist-heavy states like Florida, New York, and Nevada have already lost over 150 Dunkin' locations combined, according to Franchise Times. The causes trace back to a single thread: the erosion of morning movement. Dunkin's model depends on the breakfast rush, but domestic leisure travel is down 38%, and business travel hasn't come back. Airports and train stations are quieter now, and so are the Dunkins that once thrived inside them. Many families that used to stop for a quick egg sandwich now skip breakfast altogether, saving for rising hotel rates or gas. And the prices sting. A small coffee that once cost under $2 now averages over $3. Breakfast combos can top $8. For cash-strapped families already stretching for lodging and fuel, that turns a morning treat into a skipped expense. Meanwhile, the Dunkin empire built during its pre-2020 expansion has backfired. Too many stores in suburban strips, gas stations, and rest stops that no longer see traffic. Poor performers have become visual markers of decline. Windows boarded, counters dark, neighborhoods left just a little more hollow. Jobs vanish too. Part-timers are losing flexible, local work. These weren't just jobs, they were anchors, morning routines, reasons to leave the house. Now, leaked investor documents show Inspire brands may shutter up to 600 more Dunkin stores in low-density states if holiday travel doesn't rebound. Replacement automated pickup lockers and ghost kitchens with no human face. No warm voice. Just a blinking screen. Number 6. Starbucks. What does it mean when even America's most familiar cafe becomes too empty to survive? There was a time when walking into a Starbucks meant instant relief. Clean restrooms. A charger outlet. A familiar drink in hand, whether you were in Maui waiting on a delayed flight, in Midtown Manhattan between meetings, or stopping in a sleepy Florida beach town. Starbucks was the pause between chaos. For travelers, especially women, students, retirees, it was the one place you could catch your breath without needing to explain yourself. With its soft music and cinnamon-scented air, it became the unofficial living room of American tourism. But by mid-2025, that living room is being boarded up, according to a May Bloomberg report. More than 670 Starbucks stores across the US have closed since 2022, with the majority of recent closures hitting airports, tourist zones, and dense downtowns. Locations at terminals in LAX, Denver, and Newark have reported revenue drops up to 42%. In Las Vegas and New York, Starbucks has reduced operating hours or exited leases altogether, citing low foot traffic and unmanageable staffing issues in the company's January earnings call. The reasons tell a story far larger than coffee. Domestic tourism is unraveling. In Gallup's 2025 sentiment poll, 31% of Americans said they actively avoid major cities like San Francisco, Chicago, and New York cities where Starbucks was most concentrated. International arrivals are still 34% below pre-pandemic numbers, and business travel is down nearly 38%. For a brand that thrived in airport lounges, downtown corners, and hotel lobbies, this is a direct hit to its very foundation. The cultural current has shifted, too. On platforms like TikTok and Reddit, young travelers openly dismiss Starbucks as overpriced and soulless. A viral thread from late 2024 titled, "Why does every US city feel the same blamed Starbucks for erasing regional character?" At an average of $6.45 for a grande latte, even loyal customers are beginning to walk away. Why spend more for what feels increasingly cold, and for many Americans? Starbucks was never about the drink. It was about having a safe, warm place to sit, especially for those traveling alone, elderly couples on the road, or part-time remote workers juggling deadlines from city to city. When those stores vanish, so do thousands of quiet, reliable social moments in places like Santa Fe, Honolulu, and Orlando. The loss of Starbucks hasn't just emptied buildings, it's dragged down neighboring small shops that once benefited from the shared foot traffic. The job losses follow close behind. Young baristas and semi-retired workers, many of whom depended on the flexibility of Starbucks shifts, are being laid off without support. The Starbucks Workers United campaign has documented hundreds of cases where laid-off employees received no severance and no notice, and what's replacing the store's machines. CEO Laxman Narasimhan warned in February that if foot traffic doesn't recover by the fourth quarter, another 300 locations will shut down, in their place, cashless. AI-driven mini cafes in high-income suburbs, leaving behind the workers and travelers who once gave Starbucks its soul. When even the coffee shop disappears from your morning route, when a simple latte becomes a luxury, the journey begins to feel colder. Maybe we didn't notice what Starbucks gave us until we returned to the terminal and it was gone. Number 7. Popeyes. Not long ago, The sound of crispy chicken crackling behind the counter at Popeyes felt like a reward waiting at the end of a hot, dusty road trip. For many travelers, especially in the South, Popeyes was a flavorful detour from bland convenience store snacks or overpriced airport fare. With buttery biscuits in one hand and a spicy drumstick in the other, tourists found in Popeyes a taste that reminded them of home, even far from it, from Orlando to Las Vegas. It became a dependable pit stop for the hungry and the hurried, but the flavor is fading fast. According to QSR magazine, more than 180 Popeyes stores have closed since 2023, with nearly half in tourism-driven states like California, Florida, and Nevada. Sales at high-traffic locations such as Miami Airport and the Las Vegas Strip dropped by up to 35% in early 2025, per Restaurant Dive, a leaked competitor report from Yum. Brands revealed that Popeyes' overinvestment in urban tourist districts has backfired post-pandemic, with traffic down over 19% in those areas alone. The reason tourists simply aren't showing up. U.S. leisure travel has dropped over 12% this year. Airport traffic remains 21% below 2019 levels, especially in terminals used by budget airlines, exactly where Popeyes once thrived. International travel from countries like France, Canada, and Brazil, where Popeyes has strong cultural recognition, continues to decline, weakened by visa bottlenecks and political tensions. And internally, Popeyes is strained. Ingredient costs have surged, staffing shortages drag down speed, and inconsistent quality turns away travelers who once counted on a quick, hot meal. The closures leave a very real gap. In beach towns and rural stops near national parks, Popeyes was often the only hot meal still available after sunset. Seniors, minimum wage families, and long-haul drivers depended on its value. Now, they're left with fewer choices and colder food. Laid-off employees, many of them first-generation immigrants or older workers, report receiving little notice, no severance, and no backup plan. For small-town franchisees, it's not just a lost brand, it's a shuttered dream, if summer tourism doesn't recover. Barclays analysts warn that Popeyes could pull out of 200 more locations and cancel 50 new openings. Local spice suppliers and bakeries tied to the chain's signature flavors are already seeing orders vanish. And when that scent of Cajun warmth disappears from America's travel map, what's really being lost isn't just chicken, it's the comfort of knowing that even in unfamiliar places, something rich and warm was still waiting for you. Number 8. ChickfilA. At rest stops and airport terminals, ChickfilA once offered more than food, it gave travelers a sense of peace. Its clean spaces, polite staff, and familiar sandwiches brought structure to uncertain journeys. For retirees and road-tripping families, it felt like the last decent stop before the unknown. But even this beloved brand is slipping. Since 2023, over 90 ChickfilA locations have quietly closed, mostly in high tourism zones like Orlando, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. Business Insider. 2025. Foot traffic in airport terminals and outlet malls has fallen by 15%. 40 planned openings are now on hold, blamed on unstable tourism flows and shifting travel habits. Its disappearance hurts quietly for conservative or religious travelers, especially older ones. Chick-fil-A was a rare space that felt safe. Now, empty storefronts remain where warmth once stood, and with tourism still down, even this safe haven may continue retreating. What fills the silence when even the polite stops start vanishing? Number 9. Panda Express. Once a staple of the American road trip, Panda Express offered something rare: fast food with real vegetables, real steam, and real warmth in airports, malls, and theme park plazas. It was the quick bite that still felt like a meal for many tourists. Orange chicken was the flavor of movement familiar, but just different enough to feel like part of the adventure. Now, it's vanishing. According to Restaurant Business News, over 135 locations have closed since 2022, most of them in tourism-heavy venues. Sales in destinations like Anaheim and Honolulu fell more than 20% in just 1 year. Quiet shutdowns have swept through Universal Studios, Times Square, and food courts once fueled by foot traffic that never returned. Without travelers, Panda's model stumbles, malls are emptier, airport terminals quieter, and foreign visitors more cautious. Some now avoid Asian chains altogether, another casualty of rising global tension. Number 10. Shake Shack. It wasn't cheap, but it felt worth it for many travelers. Shake Shack was the reward at the end of a flight, the celebratory burger with a view of the skyline, or the one splurge before heading home. It didn't just serve meals, it marked moments, but those moments are fading. As of early 2025, Shake Shack has shut down or suspended 37 tourism-based locations. Sales in Manhattan, Miami Beach, and San Francisco dropped over 26% year-over-year investor update. Feb 2025. Airport locations are on pause, and storefronts once busy with tourists are now quiet. Urban tourism has fallen, international arrivals are thinning, and with prices soaring $9 for a burger, $6 for a shake, many travelers now walk past it. The closures cut deep. Families lose a middle ground option. Workers near tourist centers lose jobs, and travelers lose that feeling, the little indulgence that made the journey feel special. When even the treat isn't there anymore, what are we traveling toward? In 2025, the collapse of tourism isn't just taking down airlines or hotels, it's quietly wiping out the last affordable. Familiar places Americans trusted, from McDonald's to Shake Shack, each closed location is more than lost food. It's a piece of the American journey gone, if travel no longer brings joy, and even comfort food chains can't survive. What future is left for ordinary families? Maybe the scariest part is we didn't even notice it happening until it was too late.